Alice. Go Alice.
That's
Go
what
Alice.
we're
Go Alice.
Wait.
Because we cared for each other.
Can you do it
And
from
kids
there?
don't have to care for each other now.
Sure.
I was trying to think about the political connection. I remember in 1968 that I was the only person that I knew who thought Hubert Humphrey was a wonderful person. And I remember but when you're in Slidell, Louisiana, not a lot of people. In fact, the only way I knew that there was one other person in our grade school that liked Hubert Humphrey was because I was counting the votes and I recognized our teacher's handwriting, that she was the only other person who voted for Hubert Humphrey. And my dad said Hubert Humphrey was named Hubert Horatio Humphrey because his mother couldn't spell yuck. And I kept thinking, even then, and now I'm an adult, I'm like, what does that mean? That's really stupid. And I really thought there was something wrong with me because nobody around me thought the way I did, and nobody felt the way I did. And I was, when I was a sophomore in New Orleans, I was at an all-boys school called De La Salle, and I was miserable. I really was not enjoying life. And my parents were having a custody battle over me. I was the last one at home, and I didn't want to live
They
with
were
them.
arguing over who.
They were fighting over who would hit me. And it was not that they wanted me, it was just it was that my dad didn't want to pay child support. And
Just get a job, Alice.
so I remember I was at De La Salle, and I went to visit my guidance counselor, Father Peter. And I walked in and I said, I don't want to live with either of my parents. Let's come up with a solution. And we were there for a while during my break, and I had remembered seeing a page on my brother's college tour. And so I said, let's be a page. So we started calling around to all these members, and you know how life is an amazing series of luck and timing. For the first time in history in Congress, the Watergate babies had kicked out 3 chairmen from their chairmanships.
Yep.
And chairmen can't have pages. And so F. Edward Hebert was one of the 3 chairmen kicked out of his chairmanship like the month before I wrote it, or called in. And so everybody had been trying to get him to have pages for years, and then he was a chairman, and so they all stopped applying, and I was the only one who applied in years. And so he said, what the hell? And I think my suits came from JCPenney.
Jacques Say.
I only had one suit that came from Jacques Say-Penny, but my mom had been convinced, because she'd been told about the 24 miles of walking every day in the marble halls, that I would need postman's shoes. So she got me the biggest, heaviest, thickest-soled pair of shoes you have ever seen. And then my mom didn't understand about the washing clothes thing, and so she put my suit to the washer and dryer and destroyed the first suit. So she went back to JCPenney and got a brand new suit that she did not put through the washer and dryer. She came up here. I was the 3rd son of Flo and Bill Treadway, where everybody knew my mom and dad and everybody knew my brothers. And she and I flew into Washington, and she and this nice lady, Louise Smethurst, drove me up to the front of the Rayburn building. And as we're climbing up the hill, she said, "What's the room number?" And I said, 2340. She goes, "Who are we meeting?" "Mary Swan, Chairman Hebert's chief of staff." She says, "Uh-huh." And so we got to the thing, and in those days I had to open the front door for my mom and hold her hand out for her. She said, "This is as far as I'm taking you." And I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You know the number and you know the person. I'm not going in. This is as far as I'm taking you." And I said, "You're leaving me here on the steps of the building?" And this is one of the biggest federal buildings on Capitol Hill. She goes, "You know the number and you know the name. This is as far as I'm taking you." And I'd never cursed at my mother in my entire life. And I said, "What a bitch."
So
And she turned to Louise Smethurst and said, "Louise, put the pedal to the metal." And she peeled out in front of the Rayburn building with flying little pebbles on the street there. And I was really pissed. And I didn't understand what she was doing. And 3 months later, Hebert announced his retirement. And my dad told me that if I didn't get new patronage or something, he was forcing me to go home to De La Salle, even though I had told those people, I am never coming back to this shitty school and dealing with you people ever again.
You burned that bridge.
And so I hustled with Mrs. Boggs, and we had discovered that Doc Morgan in the cloakroom, we discovered that when Doc Morgan was asleep, he was very groggy when you woke him up for votes. You had to really kind of explain to him what was going on.
I'm so surprised.
So F. Edward Hebert and Lindy Boggs approached Doc Morgan in the cloakroom and said, they woke him up, and he was really groggy, and I was standing in the corner, and Lindy said, Doc, we would like you to transfer Eddie's patronage to me so that we can keep Alex in Washington until he graduates from high school. And he's like, whoa, okay. And she goes, will you sign for it, Doc? He goes, sure. She pulled a piece of paper out from her purse that she'd already typed up. And she got Doc Morgan to sign for it. And then she turned to me and she said, we're good, baby. You can stay for as long as you want.
Because I worked in the cloakroom that summer.
And I went to Lindley's funeral last summer. And I was the only one standing there next to her coffin, and no one was around. And I tapped it and said, you changed my life forever.
Oh.
Yep.
Amen.